Sompote Sands, better known as Sompote Sands, is considered one of the most important filmmakers in the history of Thai cinema, being the founder of company SCRYE Productions and directing some of Thailand's most successful films of all time. And this was during a point where filmmaking in Thailand wasn't anywhere near as rich as, say, Hollywood or the special effects powerhouses in Japan with companies like Toho and Tsuburaya, which Sands, while studying film in Japan, actually worked on the set of King Kong vs. Godzilla. So a man like Sompote Sands honestly seemed like the perfect candidate to help film become widespread in Thailand, and to incorporate special effects in his productions only made his ambition greater. Though unfortunately on August 26, 2021, Sands died after a long battle with cancer, and for this video I think it's time we celebrate his contributions to shaping the film industry in Thailand by bringing light to his special effects projects. First up, we have his 1973 directorial debut, Giant, which was actually shot on 35mm. You couldn't really tell because, unfortunately, the copy that's online isn't too great, but it's still rather impressive nonetheless. However, I couldn't really find any subtitles for this film, so any description of the plot that I give will be based on my observation and what's on the internet. Well, not even 3 minutes into the movie, we see a man get brutally murdered by a statue. Oh yeah, it's also worth noting that this film is essentially Sands' take on Daimajin, while also incorporating elements of Thai folklore, as the titular giant is meant to be this ancient deity from the tale Tatian, which this film is an adaptation of, as well as Utai Tawi. Also worth noting that the original name of this film in Thailand is Tatian, which is also the name of the river the finale is set in. The film is about a shape-shifting toad named Chaba, who lives in the jungle with an old man. There's also a man named Narent studying science and zoology who eventually meets her, as they both would eventually go to Bangkok, where Narent takes on the form of the giant, or Yakwat Jiang, to fight the demon Yakwat Pho. Overall, Giant is interesting, and I mean that in a way where there's not really a whole lot to offer, save for scenes where Chaba is smoking a giant blunt, the old man gets his bald head slapped, a peeping scene that also features some guy in a gorilla suit, dinosaur fights, and crocodile murder. Well, maybe there's something for everyone, as this movie would also be quite a success upon release. And then came perhaps one of the most infamous collaborative efforts in the history of Asian pop culture. It was during this time that SCRYE Productions was looking to expand the Ultraman brand throughout the Asian market, and along the way, Supro and Chayo teamed up to produce 2 movies with characters owned by the former. And don't worry, we'll go more into this partnership later. The first of these films was Jumborgase and Giant, or Giant vs. Jumborgase. Who is Jumborgase, you may ask? Well, he's one of Tsuburaya's other Kyodai heroes from the early 70s like Mirror Man, Red Man, and Fireman. Airing in 1973, the show was about a delivery boy named Naoki who finds himself fighting in a war against alien monsters as he would pilot the giant robot Jumborgase to defend mankind. And Jumborgase and Giant would be the epic crossover between Tsuburaya's cybernetic wonder and Chayo's benevolent guardian. The movie starts off with a 15-minute clip show of Jumborgase just laying the smackdown on these monsters. Yeah, get him, beat him to the ground. And apparently Yakwat Pho from Giant makes a comeback, and I guess he's teamed up with the aliens from Jumborgase to take over the Earth. Wait a minute, are those Godzilla roars? Well, I guess it's a Tsuburaya project after all. Oh yeah, the plot. I guess there really isn't one. The movie is just fighting through and through, and to be honest, as fun as that may sound, it's just tiring. In fact, it's boring. This movie is boring. Granted, I didn't have subtitles again, and I never watched Jumborgase prior to watching, but if you asked me to describe the plot of Jumborgase and Giant at gunpoint, I'd say, shoot me. Because this movie basically has no plot. I guess the fight between Jumborgase and Yakwat Jiang is cool, and watching the Jumborgase stock footage just makes me wish I was watching that instead. And geez, this has gotta be some of the worst sound mixing I've had to experience, because half the time it's like everyone is talking over one another and it all gets muffled by the sound effects and you can't even decipher what's supposed to be happening because it all just becomes a jumbled, incoherent mess. By the way, do you like the Jumborgase theme? Well, you better, because they play it over and 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 over. Fuck this shit! Time for Hanuman vs. 7 Ultraman, also known as the 6 Ultra Brothers versus the Monster Army. So, is it 6 or 7? I see 6 on the poster. Clearly, Sompote Sands was above things like counting. He had no time for such childish things. Anyway, this is the only other Tsuburaya and Chayo co-production, and as you would guess from the title, features characters from Ultraman. And I will say, I do like how the Chayo logo is more Ultraman inspired in this one, as this would also be the logo continuing forward. In this one, the sun is moving closer to the Earth, don't ask how or why, when a kid named Ko performs a rain dance. All of a sudden, a group of thieves steal a sacred artifact and get away. The kid tries chasing them down and gets shot in the fucking face and dies. Okay, this is the greatest movie ever made. Mother of Ultra sees this and resurrects Ko into the flying, dancing monkey god Hanuman, who just straight up murders the shit out of his killers while taunting them. Shit just went from 0 to 100 real quick, and then back to 0, cause this movie actually kinda sucks. I don't know, Hanuman's kinda funny, I guess. The rest of the movie is basically Hanuman and the Ultra Brothers fighting some kaiju that were awakened due to a failed rocket test. And like John Borges and Giant, it's just not fun and feels draining. This movie also uses music from Mirror Man. Kinda makes you wonder why Chayo never did a Mirror Man project. I mean, now they won't, but still. Anyway, the pacing is all over the place. Hanuman does a funny hip thrust. There's these two bumbling idiots who work for Zed, I guess. They skin monsters alive near the end. Gomora is insanely powerful for some reason. Funny to think how there was a point in time where this movie was considered canon in the Ultra series. Granted, I haven't watched every Ultraman, but it does seem like continuity is a little disorganized, so I guess it wouldn't be too far-fetched. Next movie. Now on to Hanuman and the 5 Riders, aka Hanuman and the 5 Kamen Riders. Wow, first Tsuburaya, now Toei? Guess you're probably wondering how Chayo managed to collaborate with Toei of all companies in the same year they did with Tsuburaya. Well, the answer, they didn't. Yep, what you're looking at is a completely unauthorized Kamen Rider movie that also features Hanuman and is also a sequel to Hanuman vs. 7 Ultraman. I guess Hanuman really makes the world go round. Oh wait, did I say Kamen Rider? Oh sorry, I meant to say Ant-Men, because this movie's official title is Hanuman and the 5 Ant-Men, and throughout the entire movie, the Kamen Riders are all referred to as Ant-Men. I mean, sure, ants are a completely different insect from grasshoppers, but I suppose it can work, which it did, so joke's on me, I guess. Movie opens with our heroic Ant-Man not grasshopper men riding their motorcycles across Thailand. I love how you can tell they didn't have a license to film, judging by all the background extras just looking at them, and the cars trying to pass through them. Don't you just hate it when you're trying to go to work and you see 5 dudes on motorcycles just taking up 3 lanes?
Fuck out of the way! I can't see!
Oh hey, Takashi, you might want to get Cyclone checked, cause I don't think that bike's looking stable. Also sounds like the singer is saying shut up.
Shut up!
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. The plot of this goes is that King Dark from Kamen Rider X, who I guess now leads Destron from V3 judging by the grunts, wants to drain blood, and, well, he just wants blood, and that'll make him the strongest being in the world or something, and nothing will stand in his way unless the counterfeit karate bugmen have something to say about it. They also bring back the thieves from Hanuman vs. 7 Ultraman, in that King Dark literally summons them from hell to serve him. I mean, hey, what better place to find evil henchmen than the actual depths of hell itself? Also, that King Dark suit is looking rough. I mean, it barely resembles the actual suit from Kamen Rider X. You can even see the neck of the actor at some point. Oh, and just like John Borges and Giant, this movie also has the Kamen Rider X theme on repeat. They also play 71's theme on multiple occasions, but it just never stops with X. And I love how obvious it is when you're watching stock footage, cause the actual Ant-Man suits in this movie are not pretty to look at. They don't even get some of the details right on some of them. And the attempt at dubbing the Japanese footage with Thai is just funny. Moving on with the trend of blatant plagiarism is Computer Superman, released in 1977 in an attempt to cash in on the success of both Richard Donner's Superman film and The $6 Million Man. And this is the point in my marathon where I started to feel my sanity decline. You have a woman who's giving birth during a thunderstorm, and her house gets struck by lightning. Later on, we see, whoa! Anyway, there's this guy with a tail, a guy with a serious case of yaoi hands, a guy who, no matter what, is all ears, and a guy who produces a lot of snot, which he uses to save their boat from sinking in one scene. Guess this is our bootleg Justice League. Sompote was really ahead of the curve, you know. The tail guy falls in love, and one night the woman he's in a relationship with cuts off his tail while he's sleeping, and this causes him to bleed to death. Lady, was that really necessary? Apparently so, because this one dude who looks like a cross between Will Zeppeli from JoJo's and General Black from Kamen Rider in a Swiss cheese shirt finds his body and brings him back to life as a cyborg. Great, so now 40 minutes in, the movie has justified its title, and it's all downhill from here. Basically, Computer Superman goes around and takes care of some domestic terrorism, with his means of transport being that one thing they do with M11 in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. You see, Sompote was the blueprint all along. There's a big shootout that happens, and Computer Superman dies for a moment and gets brought back again looking like Rock Lee from Naruto. My favorite moment in this movie occurs at the hour and 36-minute mark, where Computer Superman makes an entrance, but he's not completely in the shot. So after like a couple of seconds, the cinematographer adjusts the camera to where he's in frame. It's hilarious. Up next, we have Krythong from 1979, also known as Legend of the Crocodile, based on a Thai folktale about a crocodile that's eating villagers, who's then stopped by a man with superhuman abilities. But there's a problem. The copy that's on YouTube looks like this. And while there is a much better one online, it can only be seen through a very sketchy porn site. I guess when Thong is in your title, you're bound to end up there anyway. So Krythong, you've been spared.
For now.
Fra Rod Marie, also 1979, is the longest of these films, clocking in at 2 hours and 5 minutes. This one's based on another folktale named The 12 Sisters, about, well, 12 sisters, who are abandoned and then raised by an ogress. There's a guy named Fra Rada-san whose mother and aunts are blind, and for them to be healed, he must go to the Ogre Kingdom. The movie opens off to an interesting start where an elephant gets eaten in not even the first 30 seconds. There's lots of extreme close-ups, funny skeleton props, massive prosthetic tits. I can see why this was one of the most successful Thai films ever made. Going back to crocodiles, we have Crocodile, 1980. Believe it or not, this is perhaps Sompote Sands' most popular film in his career, and it's about a doctor who has a personal vendetta with a crocodile who killed his family. Pretty hardcore. This guy ends up getting a ship from a dude whose only outfit is overalls and has a pretty sick eagle tattoo on his chest. You may also notice that the production value is a little high this time around. Well, that's actually because this movie was a co-production between Thailand and the US with Dick Randall as a producer. And this meant that the movie was able to get an international release, as well as an international version. The original Thai version of Crocodile is longer than the international cut with more special effects footage, some of which is from Krythong apparently. There is also a bunch of shots that eerily look similar to what Hideaki Anno would make. Guess he was a fan of the sands. Thinking back, I guess you do need to watch Hanuman vs. 7 Ultraman to understand Neon Genesis Evangelion. Oh yeah, and in case it wasn't obvious, this is a Jawsploitation film, meaning it was made to cash in on the success of Jaws. Even down to the whole climax in the middle of the ocean, and boy, let me tell you about this ending. If you watch the original Thai version, after someone makes a self-sacrifice that fails, our main guy throws an explosive into the croc's mouth and blows it to bits. God damn, didn't even tell that son of a bitch to smile. But in the international version, after the guy does his self-sacrifice, it cuts to the explosion, but we don't see pieces of the crocodile flying everywhere. The dude suicide bombs himself, killing the crocodile, and judging by how the rest of the movie plays out, it's implied that all the other characters died with him. You know, despite its shortcomings, this is probably the best one. Or maybe I've actually gone insane. Oh yeah, this movie is also infamous for a scene where a crocodile gets cut up, and honestly, it's hard to tell whether or not it's fake. If you watch it, you'll see what I mean. Alright, Noble War from 1984. This is an adaptation of the Ramakien, which is based on the Ramayana, a Hindu epic. This movie also features our good pal Hanuman, and that's all I can kinda say about it story-wise. The copy I watched had subtitles, but it's like they were getting Thanos snapped out of existence. Noble War also flaunts a pretty high production value, as well as a lot of dancing, and it's surprisingly actually kinda fun. Like, I'm really enjoying these characters basically have this little titular noble war, as it gets pretty creative, not gonna lie. Honestly, if I were able to understand the story more, this probably would have been my favorite. It's definitely got a lot of heart to it. Alright, now we're getting into what's probably the biggest waste of time in all of humankind. This is Space Warriors 2000. Or I guess the full title would be Space Warriors 2000, The Year of the Monkey Wrench, having one of the worst opening credit sequences ever. Wow, that sure is a lot of Ultramen, so much that they probably didn't have the rights for some of them. Now, you're probably wondering, didn't Chayo and Tsuburaya only produce 2 movies together? Well, about that. Tsuburaya had nothing to do with Space Warriors 2000. As part of an agreement supposedly made in 1976, a document was apparently signed by former president of SCRYE Productions, Noboru Tsuburaya. This document granted Sompote Sands and Chayo legal ownership of the Ultra series from Ultra Q to Ultraman Taro, plus Jumborg Ace. Oh sorry, did I say Noboru Tsuburaya? I meant Noboru Truburaya. Silly me, how could I have messed that up? As for the shows that Sands would have the legal rights for, they consisted of Ultraman 1, aka Ultra Q, Ultraman 2, Ultraman 7, Return Ultraman, Ultraman Ace, Ultraman Taro, and Jumborg Ace. Yeah, as you can tell, this document was completely bogus, and after one of the longest legal battles in history, the court ruled in favor of SCRYE Productions in 2018, stripping the rights to these shows from Chayo, who's now doing unauthorized Ultraman NFTs. But yeah, you know something's up when they couldn't even spell Hanuman right, their own character mind you. For more info on the story, Vintage Henshin did an excellent breakdown in his Ultra Rewind video. But all that said, Space Warriors 2000 is somehow an official yet unauthorized Ultraman film that was somehow made for English localization. I'm just as confused as you are. Everyone's here. Mothra, God Zelda, and Hanuman, even a whole cast of Japanese stuntmen whose names they couldn't read. Wow, they didn't even try. I guess the question is whether or not they should even bother because it's all stock footage! This was another one that Sompote Sands co-directed. Prior to this, he co-directed Hanuman vs. 7 Ultraman with Shohei Tojo, known for his work on countless Tokusatsu productions, especially those from the Ultra series and Super Sentai. But along with Sompote Sands on Space Warriors 2000 was Mark Smith being an accidental director. Yeah, don't you hate it when you accidentally direct something? The story begins with a normal phone conversation with the greatest acting ever put to screen.
Hi, honey, it's me.
Where are you calling from?
I'm at the airport.
Oh, that's great.
A father comes home from a business trip and gives his son toys of both Ultraman and the most depressing sounding Gomora of all time. Apparently, the Ultraman toy is special because it turns out to be sentient and starts talking to the boy Nicholas. And now, the movie is just a big clip show using footage from the original Ultraman, Ultra 7, Taro, Leo, 80, the Zafy movie, those last 3 they never had the rights for by the way, and Hanuman and the 7 Ultraman, which they also use stock footage from in Hanuman the 5 Riders, and Noble War. For fuck's sake, this makes it the 3rd other movie they've used the same footage. In fact, the climax is literally just the same thing. Oh yeah, I should probably explain. So, Space Warriors 2000 is actually an English re-edit of Hanuman vs. 7 Ultraman. However, it's not actually Hanuman vs. 7 Ultraman. In 1984, Hanuman vs. 7 Ultraman was re-edited and re-released as Hanuman vs. 11 Ultraman. This time with clips from the Zafy movie as well as the other aforementioned Ultraman media, and was then re-edited for the English market as Space Warriors 2000. So you have an unauthorized yet somehow legal re-edit of an official film. At least it's not just any clip show. The stock footage is redubbed with the most monotone voice acting for Ultraman. It's really just to make the fights more comedic with some stock music. Basically, this movie's just a shitpost. A really bad shitpost. Speaking of voices,
Like the ones in my head telling me just to fucking end it all.
the one they got for Hanuman isn't too bad.
It is I, Hanuman. You are too close to the earth. You cause my people much pain and distress.
Yeah, I think I'm going insane. And it turns out it was all a dream. Yeah, wish it was like the red spectacles. Moving on. Krythong 2, 1985. I didn't even watch the first, so I'm not gonna bother. Probably sucks anyway. Just another crocodile movie that Sompote Sands decided to make. I mean, hey, dude loved crocodiles, it seems. Alright, here we are. The final film in Sompote Sands' directorial career. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Magic Lizard, aka Frilled Lizard Lonely Travel, a movie inspired by a time where Sompote Sands' nephew brought home a frilled lizard from Austria. Guess this was a pretty personal one for Sands. Movie opens with, wait a minute, Giga? Oh, Super Eyes got some explaining to do. Also love how the Chayo logo just gives up here. A telltale sign, perhaps. And we start the movie off with lizards roller skating around Thailand to some pretty boppin' music. Not gonna lie, it's pretty fire. Then, wait a minute, these are the villains from Jumborgesen Giant, and Yakwa Jang is here. The Chayo cinematic universe is expanding! Actually, the reason behind all this is that our titular magic lizard is the guardian of the crystal of the Temple of Dawn. This crystal is taken by the Jumborgese villains, and Magic Lizard calls up Yakwa Jang to get it back. Other than that, it's just Magic Lizard up to a bunch of funny shenanigans. Comes across a bear, ventures through the jungle, rides an ox, then gets shit on by the ox. I kid you not, this is a movie where a giant lizard gets shit on by an ox. It goes into her mouth too, that's fucking nasty. And not only that, she almost dies after getting stung by giant mosquitoes. Poor lizard can't catch a break. Thankfully she recovers, and just in time for an epic battle against another fucking crocodile. Sometimes depicted through stock footage from Crocodile, and I guess Krythong, I don't know, I haven't seen it. As for the fight itself, maybe I'm just too harsh. As someone who's a consumer of media that some people would find campy, cheesy, and corny, I may be a bit hypocritical. But in all honesty, I can't help but applaud Sompote Sands' efforts and contributions to the Thai film industry, to the point where he basically helped shape it. Now, I haven't seen a lot of Thai cinema, but I wouldn't be surprised if his essence is present elsewhere. If anything, the legacy of Sompote Sands is one that's admirable. Taking your knowledge of something you're passionate about and using it to give to your country with nothing but your heart and your drive. Maybe forge a couple of documents here and there, produce a couple films with questionable legality, but you get the idea. These films may be crude, but there is genuine love and passion poured into them, and some of them ended up being major hits in Thailand. And that is something that, no matter how you feel about these movies, no one can deny. Sompote, thank you. May your efforts be remembered centuries to come. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will say I was a little hesitant on this one, but I figured it'd be a nice change of pace from the usual output while also being fun. Want to give a very special shout out to my channel members and my supporters on Patreon, so if you like what you see, then consider supporting the channel with a link in the description, where for at least $1 you can get access to my Discord server, and you can also unlock other perks like early access to videos and exclusive content. Shout out to Superior Goji King for joining the Patreon. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is TitanGoji, signing off. But actually, yeah, what was it with Sompote Sands and crocodiles?